Welcome back, comrades. This is Gaming with Austin, and today what episode is this? Episode 126 of Season 2 of the Utopian Community Series. One thing I discovered about the obesity epidemic is the obesogens, the chemicals that can cause insatiable hunger and a painfully slow metabolism, is actually in the air we breathe. Air pollution is playing a role in the obesity epidemic too. Because air pollution is what is slowing down our metabolism. There's another factor too. The population is slowly getting older and older. Now, as the population gets older, obesity rates will creep up. Because as you get older, your metabolism slows down. Everything is going through an aging process. Nothing can control the aging. As you reach your elderly years, your metabolism is slowing down as you get older. So, imagine two people eating 1,200 calories a day on average. One of them is working in an industrial area, constantly exposed to pollution. The other is living in a rural area, where there's little to no pollution. The effects? The one living in the industrial area is more likely to become overweight. Because the pollutants inside that are being released into the air is screwing with our metabolism. Not only it's increasing the obesity rates amongst a lot of us, it's even causing high birth weights too. Basically meaning congenital obesity. Congenital obesity, which means that you are born overweight, you're gonna die overweight. Your birth weight can predict your risk of becoming overweight. Having a high birth weight can actually signal infantile obesity. There's also it's also affecting neonatal metabolism too. Sometimes it's not entirely the child's fault. Usually, who's really to blame for the obesity epidemic? The rise in obesity, in which most of us start off being healthy. A lot of it has to do with air pollution. Because the pollutants in the air affects our lungs, which makes it hard for us to exercise. It also affects our metabolism too, which means, you guess it, your metabolism actually ends up slowing down. Your metabolism slows down. There is a factor to the obesity epidemic that has a direct consequence to our actions. As we live longer, our risks of becoming overweight increase as we age. That is completely normal. So, despite eating the same amount of food, it's not about what we're eating, It's about consumption. It's about intake versus expenditure. It's intake versus expenditure. It is intake versus expenditure. The pollutants in the air we breathe can reduce our caloric expenditure. Like by altering our DNA. Like across several generations. Because they have the potential to mutate your DNA. But ionizing radiation can mutate your DNA at the subatomic level. It'll mutate your DNA at the subatomic level. What's going to drive the world into nuclear war? Food shortage. Basically, will drive us into World War III. One of the factors that'll put the whole world into World War III. One of the root causes of what will become World War III would be rising food shortages, brought on by climate change. Who's to blame for climate change? Intensive animal farming. And our dependence on fossil fuels, too. I'm in favor of a fossil fuel tax. The tax needs to start off small and work its way up. We need to get people off of fossil fuels completely. There are some climate change deniers who believe that cholesterol is good for you. The more you eat, the longer you live. This is not true. In fact, the only cholesterol you should rely on is the cholesterol that is naturally produced by your body. The reason why you cannot get rid of your body fat completely is because your body fat is required in order to produce the phospholipid bilayer that is found in every cell of your body. It's not just found in animal cells. It's found in plant cells too. It's not just found in animal cells. Even plants need fats too. Your body is not designed to use all the sugar that you consume, because your body needs to store some of it as fat. Being underweight is really not an option. Being at a normal weight is not an option either. That is because back in the Stone Age, being at a healthy weight would have been a death. Being at a so-called healthy weight would have been a death sentence. It would have been a death sentence to be at a so-called healthy weight. Why I say it as so-called? Because I'm part of the fat acceptance movement, believe it or not. You really shouldn't blame the obese. If your DNA tells you to be overweight, then you gotta be overweight. Then you're gonna become overweight regardless of what you do. No matter how much you eat. if being overweight is written in your DNA, but your insatiable appetite is not, that means you're going to have a slow metabolism. Obesity is sort of written in your DNA. That is one of the factors of obesity we have no control over. If we want to fight the epidemic, you got to embrace the fat acceptance movement. Because there are plus-size models too. Back in the Stone Age, being at a so-called healthy weight would have been a death sentence. Having about 20% body fat would have also been a death sentence. This is a real reason your body is trying to keep you from losing weight. If you are overweight most of your life and suddenly you want to lose weight, don't, because you might risk losing your life. Because losing weight, if you've been overweight for most of your life, even from infancy, can actually become a death sentence. For some of us. Always listen. You may want to think about listening to your body. If you feel extreme insatiable hunger when trying to lose weight, that means you shouldn't. That really means you shouldn't be losing weight anyway. Because weight loss, for some people who are overweight, weight loss can actually become a death sentence. Not all overweight people are at risk for heart disease. In fact, there are overweight people that are metabolically healthy. Look at sumo wrestlers. Your body fat is really trying to, if you're in a famine, overweight people are going to have an advantage. Why your body is trying to keep you from losing weight, it's actually an evolutionary thing. We evolved to become overweight from the beginning. Because it helped us survive famine. There are some pros and cons to everything. There are pros and cons to being overweight. There are pros and cons to being skinny. Fat cells are produced by all eukaryotes. Not just humans, but all eukaryotic life produces fat cells in some form. Like, all multicellular life will produce as much fat as their body needs to. Having body fat is not a bad thing. Visceral fat only protects a certain area within your body from... But subcutaneous fat is actually the best fat to have. Feel free to have as much subcutaneous fat as you want. Having that beer belly back in the Stone Age would have helped you survive a famine. This is why diets almost never work. Because because we're genetically designed to be overweight. Most of us are biologically designed to be overweight. Because back in the early days of human history, like at least 3 million years ago, to near the present day, food was scarce. But when food was abundant, we ate the hell out of it. Which is why, when you see food, you tend to think of eating all of it at once. Evolution plays a role in that. Having a bit of fat stores is actually pretty beneficial. It all depends on where your body is storing it. If your body stores it right beneath your skin, you should be good. But if most of it is concentrated into your gut, into your abdominal cavity, you gotta be careful. But sumo wrestlers, they have it pretty easy. But if I was to become a sumo wrestler, I'd be eating a lot. Healthy comes in every size. If your DNA tells you to be overweight, it's hereditary, then you have no choice. What makes it unhealthy for you to go down to 0% body fat? No animal can survive without body fat. Not one animal is able to survive without it, because your fat cells play a very important role in creating the phospholipid bilayer. There are some foods that are naturally fatty, like peanuts. In moderation, saturated fat is good. Same thing with the mono and the polyunsaturated fat. Monounsaturated fat has one double bond. Polyunsaturated fat has at least two. But the trans fats, you gotta watch out for that. Most of the trans fats are made in factories, but a small amount is naturally found in meat and other animal products. Especially dairy. Trans fat is mostly man-made, but there is natural trans fats too. That ground beef you buy has natural trans fats, meaning the trans fats were not made in a factory. It was made by the animal while it was still alive. Inside their bodies. The only way to eliminate trans fats from your diet is to go vegan. Like, completely eliminate it. One of the reasons to go vegan is to reduce trans fats. And to also reduce your bad cholesterol. My problem with meat consumption is you gotta watch out for the trans fats. Saturated fats increase both your good and the bad cholesterol. The liquid unsaturated fats increase your good cholesterol, whilst reducing your bad cholesterol. But trans fats reduce your good cholesterol and increase your bad cholesterol. So if you want to reduce your bad cholesterol and increase your good cholesterol, you may want to think about going vegan. I will not eat chicken. Because a high cholesterol diet is bad for your heart. The only reason to take part in a high cholesterol diet is if your body is not producing enough. The cholesterol deficiency occurs in up to 1% of the world population. It's not entirely our fault for obesifying the world. In fact, being overweight or obese had a survival advantage back in the early days. Back in the Stone Age, being skinny would have been skinny people would have been stigmatized a lot more. Our bodies are really designed to store as much fat as possible. But will it be like several thousand years into the future? We might evolve to change our fat deposits to where we would store subcutaneous fat but not visceral fat. Or maybe evolve to have a genetic resistance to heart disease related to visceral fat by basically creating a barrier that protects, that makes the fatty acids only go one way. To where the visceral fat does little to no harm. If we would have stayed in the Stone Age, if we invented agriculture earlier, then who knows what will happen. I know I'm doing a bit of alternate history. An alternate history is a form of science fiction. An example of such type of science fiction is Wolfenstein. Not all overweight people can help it. So, you shouldn't body shame them. If you want to be skinny, that's fine. If you want to be overweight, that's fine. It's your body, it's your choice. If you want a beer belly, that's fine. It's your body. It's your choice. Your decision to eat meat has a lot of consequences for animals. If you want the animals to live, leave them off your plate. You cannot let all the animals live, because some of them have to die in order for their predator to survive. If we got rid of the predators over animal rights, the so-called animal rights campaign, which seeks to keep all animals vegan, the so-called animal rights groups like PETA. PETA's trying to make every animal go vegan. This is just wrong. If every animal went vegan, we would see a collapse in the ecosystem. Not only the carnivores would die off from malnutrition, like cats, like I'm talking about felidae, like cats, the house cat, tigers, lions, leopards, cheetahs, jaguars, they would all die off if PETA's plans succeed. We need those carnivores in our ecosystem. We need them. Because they protect our food supply. They kill off the pests while leaving our food supply alone. One thing you should not do if you have a cat is put your cat on a vegan diet. Because it will not end well for the cat. In fact, the cat will die, most likely. Concerns for animal welfare must include a biologically appropriate diet. If you have a cat, the best thing you can feed them is raw meat. I know this sounds disgusting, but they do it in the wild. But feral cats eat mice. They don't cook it, but they eat it raw. They usually don't get sick from it. If we let the cats overpopulate, it'd be bad news for the mice, but good news for our food supply. I know it's going to be bad news for the mice, but it'll be good news for our food supply. I know it's bad news for the mice, but the good news, I know it's bad news for the mice and rats who like to scavenge our bins for food. I know it's bad news for the rats and mice who like to scavenge our garbage bins, but it's good news for our food supply, as cats are obligate carnivores. Anyways, this should be it for this video. Don't forget to leave a like if you liked this video, dislike if you disliked it, subscribe for more. Share this with your comrades on social media, like Twitter, Instagram, Facebook. As always, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more. Don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel for more. Don't forget to follow me on Instagram for more updates on the series. As always, thank you for watching. Stay tuned for more, and peace out.